A lot of people are always searching for something more than their job. I think it has to be right place, right time. I think you have to really know that you've got the time and energy to put into it. I've become a much more confident person, much happier person, because I feel like I'm doing something that's for me.
Yeah, I'm excited to be joined by our guest today, Jennie Becker, so thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So Jennie has over 15 years experience in the world of events and partnerships, working for companies such as British Fashion Council and WeWork, and she's also organised events such as London Fashion Week and British Fashion Awards. 3 years ago, Jennie launched her own side hustle, which is a podcast called Sliding Doors, and she continues to run this independently, asking people in the public eye to delve into their sliding doors moment. It's done really well so far, with features on Apple Podcasts, the best podcast pick in the Daily Mail, and Amazon Music, and it's entering the podcast charts in the top 30, and she's also been a finalist into International Women's Podcast Awards and Independent Podcast Awards 2023. So all amazing. So Jennie, your chosen topic today is starting your own side hustle. So I suppose my first question would be, what led you to start your side hustle in the podcast?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of people are always searching for something more than their job. And I can't really explain what it was, but I've always been such a career person. I've always known kind of I wanted to work in fashion and what I've wanted to do, and put all of kind of my energy and everything into my job. And I got to a point in my career where I realised that I'm never going to be able to get everything from my work, you know, especially if you're working for somebody else and not for yourself. There's only a limit to kind of where you can go, and you can let work just take over everything and let everything get to you so much. And I was just always searching for something more, and I just did not know what that was. People talk about side hustles all the time, and it's a very hard thing to figure out what that is. And I'd say for about a year and a half, I just always felt like there was something more I could do that would, I don't know, just light me up a little bit and feed my soul. And that's kind of where the idea of starting a side hustle came from, and starting Sliding Doors.
Okay, and what made you choose podcasting?
So podcasting, so I did a lot of interviewing and moderating through my job, and I always really enjoyed it. And I found that a lot of people used to say, do you get really nervous? And I used to be like, no, I get really excited, and felt like that was quite a unique thing. And I pitched to my company to see if I could start a podcast there, and they kind of were like, it will be really hard to get over the line, like, why don't you start one yourself? And I was just like, you know what, so many people have podcasts, and I just feel like they're not going to know who I am. What's the point? There's so many out there. And then one day I was sat in my living room with my sister, and I was just kind of playing around with the idea that if I did start a podcast, what would I call it? And I've always been obsessed with the kind of theory of everything happens for a reason, and the film Sliding Doors. So I looked up Everything Happens for a Reason, and there were loads of podcasts called that. So I was like, definitely not starting that. And I looked up Sliding Doors, and there was literally 2 podcasts called that weren't really doing much. And I just got this feeling that, you know what, that's a concept that I really love, and just felt like it was something that just felt right. And I literally started it from my living room on that day.
Oh, cool. It's such a good thing to do. And you also, so you just said there around doing it alongside your job. So like you can get so sucked into your job that you feel like you can't move away and do other things alongside it. So when you did start it, what do you feel like were the main challenges that you came across whilst in the process of starting that side hustle up alongside your role?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I think there are some roles that I've been in my career where I just wouldn't have had the time to. Yeah. I definitely think I was at a point in my career where, you know, I'd climbed the ladder, got to where I wanted to get to. And it wasn't that kind of I wasn't putting my all into my job. I definitely was. But I felt like I had all this spare time and wasn't doing anything with it. So I think that was something that really, you know, had to be in the right place, right time to start doing something. And I think for me, the main challenges were just starting something fully from scratch on my own. You know, I think having a full-time job can sound like it's a bit of a hindrance, but actually sometimes it's something that really pushes you to kind of do even better, because you've only got a limited amount of time to do something outside of work, and you want that to be something that, as I said, feeds your soul and kind of really helps you and makes you more confident and makes you better at your job. So I think for me at first it was just more, how do I learn an absolutely brand new skill? I'd been doing the same job for so long. How do I learn something from scratch? And I think for me that was the hardest thing, because I did it all on my own. I didn't have anyone to kind of chat to about it. But again, I think it really helped to build my self-confidence. I think when we've been doing a job, especially if you've been in the same career industry for a long time, you start to kind of be like, am I still good at what I do? Can I learn new things? So it was a really great way for me to understand that I still have this potential inside me to diversify and try new things.
Okay, great. And I know you mentioned there a couple of ways that it has helped you. How do you feel like it has helped you from both a personal and a career perspective, starting the side hustle and the podcast? What things do you think it's helped you develop in?
I mean, so much. I mean, I've become a much more confident person, much happier person, because I feel like I'm doing something that's for me. And I think the freedom and liberty that you feel with that is just insane. I'd also say it helped me so much with my job, because things that would just, you know, when something happens at work and you let it fester in your mind for hours and hours when you get home, or you have a bad day and you come home and that just takes over your evening. Yeah. Having a side hustle on my podcast meant that I didn't have the time to do that. So if I'd had a bad day, I put all that negative energy into being like, right, I'm going to do something really great tonight for the podcast. And like, I learned how to channel energy in a different way, which was really key for me and really changed things. And yeah, I think personally, I think it's just made me just find who I am a little bit. I think I've just become a happier person because I'm doing something that I love. And, you know, it's only going to go far if I put the energy in. If I didn't do my podcast, no one's going to be like, Jennie, why have you not put in an episode? Because it's literally just for me. But I think that's where the excitement comes from, because I know that this is all something that I've done, and it's just a great way, I think, to also push yourself and see the limits that you can take.
Yeah, I bet it stops you overthinking and ruminating about things that happened at work, because it allows you to sort of switch off completely and move on to something that you want to focus on yourself. And
massively. And I really do think it's a really good way to channel energy. I think that I've really learned that. I get a lot of knockbacks in my podcast all the time. Like, I ask guests to come on, they don't, or like, you know, something doesn't go as well as I want it to. And it's really taught me that things will go well. You just have to kind of wait for it. Or, as I say, if you've had a day at work that's just driven you mad, to go home and be able to put that energy into something positive is really great.
If you're a podcaster, it can sometimes be a bit difficult to find guests. Equally, if you're a guest looking for podcasts to appear on, it's not always easy to find them. Thankfully, our sister company, MatchMaker.fm, has an app to do just that. With over 70,000 users, MatchMaker FM is the best place to find, contact, and collaborate with like-minded creatives. Cut out all the time wasters and build a community of world-class content creators. And the best part? You can sign up today for free. So head over to MatchMaker.fm to get started.
Obviously, the main question, what would be the one thing that we should know about starting a side hustle from your perspective?
I think, as I say, I think it has to be right place, right time. I think you have to really know that you've got the time and energy to put into it. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be a certain age or in a certain job, but you've got to have a real passion to do it, because it's a lot of time and energy. Again, it's alongside a job that you're probably doing. And whether it's, you know, a side hustle can be anything from, you know, starting a side business to just going to art class or art school, or having, like, you know, going back to university to learn something. For me, it's all about, you've got to put the time and dedication in, because, I mean, with podcasting, I've heard a stat that, like, you know, most podcasts that start only do 10 episodes and then they stop. You've got to know that with a side hustle, it will take time to get into your groove, but you've got to give it a bit of time, and got to know that if it's not, you know, I have days where I get really nervous before an interview, or I'm just like overwhelmed with too many things to do. But as soon as I finish an interview, I literally am beaming from ear to ear. So I know why I do the podcast. So I think you need to make sure that whatever you do as a side hustle, it is feeding your soul. And if it's not, try something new, because ultimately you're doing it to make you a better and happier person. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, and I know you said there it's got to be the right place at the right time. How did you feel like it was the right place at the right time?
As I said earlier, I think internally I was searching for something and I did not know what it was. I felt like I wanted to inspire people. I always felt like I wanted to be more than my job. And I don't know where that feeling came from. And as I said to you, it took me a couple of years to figure out what that was. You know, I knew I liked interviewing. I knew I liked moderating from experiencing that. So I think it is important if you've got a niggle about something that, you know, a lot of people say to me, I love creative writing. I haven't done it since school. Well, start writing a few articles, post them on LinkedIn, just write them in a book. Just start doing it and see if it's something that's getting you excited and you're lighting up when you talk about it. I think you've got to, before you really take the plunge, kind of dip your toe in the water slightly if you can. You know, today anything and everything is possible from your living room. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and if our listeners wanted to find your podcast, where should they look?
You can find Sliding Doors wherever you get your podcasts. So whether it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all you need to do is just search Sliding Doors, and there's over 95 episodes to choose from. We're nearly coming up to our 100th episode, which is really exciting, which I can't quite believe. But yeah, there should be something for everyone there.
Okay, I was just going to say, have you got anything exciting planned for the 100th episode, or can you not tell us that yet?
I can't tell you who it's going to be, mainly because it's kind of being confirmed as we speak, but there'll definitely be some celebrations. I think, again, this is really key, is to really celebrate milestones. You know, if you'd have told me 3.5 years ago that I'd be celebrating my 100th episode, I would not believe you. So I think I'll just maybe get some friends together, maybe do a little drinks, an event, and just try and kind of celebrate it as much as I can, because as I said, it's a really big milestone for me, and I think I need to take that step back and really see how far I've come.
And that's the end of today's episode. I just want to say a big thank you to today's guests for their valuable insights. If you like the show, why not share with a friend or subscribe so you never miss the one thing you should know.